Hey everyone, thanks for joining. It's Corey of Blue Falcon Board Gaming. If you're new to the channel, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran that started the Blue Falcon Board Gaming Group in the Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia tri-state area with the hopes of promoting positive mental health through board gaming, as well as to make board games more accessible to the community by hosting and co-hosting events and also doing giveaways. Today I have Bill Webb with me, also known as Billy Indiana. Bill, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So you want to tell us who you are outside of board gaming first? You know, what's a typical day for Bill look like?
Well, I'm a science teacher, a high school science teacher, and a basketball coach, so that fills up quite a bit of my time. My wife and I live in Southern California, just outside of LA. We have 3 kids and 6 grandkids that we try to spend time with when we can during breaks, but they live all over the place. So, yeah, so most of my day ends up being in school. Then in the summers and breaks, we travel to go see the grandkids wherever they are at. So.
Gotcha. So, what was your introduction into board gaming, and maybe more specifically, the modern board game scene?
Sure. Yeah, I think like a lot of us, I grew up playing some games, sort of the classics, but I think it was in early 2000s. We were just visiting some friends and they taught us Settlers of Catan. And my wife and I played it and really liked it. And our kids were upper elementary, middle school age. And so we're like, okay, they can handle this. And it turned out that we ordered the base game and Seafarers and Cities and Nights. We just like jumped in, got it all as a package set. And then like 2 days after we received it in the mail, we got snowed in with a huge blizzard. And so the whole week we just played Settlers and just fell in love with it. And that was a time when we were spending a lot of time living overseas. So we happened to be in the States at that time. But then a few months later, we moved back to Indonesia. We were in Indonesia for about 12 years. And we took that game with us, and we also discovered Carcassonne. So we had those games with us in Indonesia and taught a lot of our friends there and played those games a lot. So that was kind of my entry in the early 2000s. But there wasn't a lot of access in Indonesia to get new ones. When we came back, we moved back in 2011 and I discovered Pandemic when I thought, wow, I'd never even heard of a cooperative game. So that was kind of new to me. And then I was looking for other cooperative games and other kinds of games. And kids got me Splendor for Christmas one year. And it was just kind of little by little, from having those 2 or 3 games to 4 or 5 to 10 or 12. And then when COVID hit, I had started to pick up a few games. I had heard about this game Scythe that a lot of people were talking about. And so I picked that one up and really enjoyed that one. And then not too long after I discovered that one, Stonemaier Games released Tapestry. And so I tried that one. And then I just started realizing, wow, I really am enjoying all the variety and just kind of being open my eyes to how much variety there is in board games. Then COVID hit, and that's when I started the channel and kind of did a deep dive. Once I started the channel, then it was just like, okay, I got to find all these older games that I'd heard of, that people talk about and love, that I've never had a chance to play. Plus, I'm always excited about the new games coming out. And so then my collection just started to kind of explode. And I got into a game group once COVID was kind of relieved enough that we could start meeting back together. And yeah, just kind of, I would say the last 4 or 5 years, I've just been spending quite a bit of time playing and talking about board games. So that's my journey.
Yeah. So, what do you think it is about board games that you're so drawn to? Is there anything in particular that sticks out to you? I know for me personally, it was a good way for me to help with my mental health. Just being able to kind of break away from reality for a little bit and have something to focus on. I always joke that it's like crazy to me that we even drive on the roads. It's like we just trust other people to stay within those white lines.
Yeah.
So I really like the collective understanding of the rules while we're playing this game. Like everyone's operating off the same rule set.
Yeah, I think for me, it started with family and the connections we made over board games. And then that kind of spread to some of our friends when we were overseas and teaching them about some of the board games that we had, even though we only had a few. And just a different way to spend time together where you're interacting, you're having fun. And then when I learned about cooperative games, it was just like a whole nother world opened up to, okay, if there are people that kind of are interested but don't have that competitive edge or don't feel comfortable with competitiveness, then now we've got a whole other avenue of opportunity. So I think for me, the primary draw has always been interacting with friends, interacting with family, just spending that time together where whether it's competitive or cooperative, you're visiting, you're hanging out, you're enjoying each other, and I think that's the biggest draw. There's a little bit of it. Alzheimer's has impacted my family, my wife's family a little bit, and so there's also that. Oh, we're now that we're in our 50s and getting a little older, we also want to keep our minds sharp, and so just having something that's more engaging mentally than just sitting and watching a TV show or watching movies. We still like to do that some too, but something that's going to engage our minds a little more, keep our minds active and sharp as we get older is another kind of side benefit.
Yeah, yeah. My little one, she's almost 6 now. She'll be 6 in January, and she just started kindergarten this semester or this school year, whatever you want to call it. And they sent home like, "Hey, this is what they're going to be graded on for the first 9 weeks," and it was like, "Oh, they can count to 25." And I just kind of laughed because there was a video that I'd posted on the Facebook page, and I want to say Harper was she was either 3 or 4, but it was a Haba game called Dragon's Breath, and it was her
Hmm.
counting out the crystals or the gems. And she was just going through and she's like 36, 37, 38, 39. Like, I'm like, what 3-year-old can do this? Like,
Yeah.
this has been a great way because ever since she's been able to basically be mobile, I've tried to have her around games and stuff. So I think there's definitely a good benefit to that mental aspect too of learning it as a child and learning strategy and
Hmm.
that cooperative being cooperative, but also as you're aging and stuff too, keeping your mind engaged.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with our grandkids. I mean, like I mentioned before, we kind of started with our own kids, but now that we have grandkids, it's been fun, and they're all elementary age or younger, and so finding games that they can enjoy. Every time we go visit, they just expect me to bring games, and they're always excited to try the new ones. And sometimes it's a simple one like Tinder Blocks, or just a little dexterity game. Other times it's a little more involved, and but yeah, it's really fun to see them learning and not just learning basic skills like how to read words and how to count and things like that, but even like you said, strategy thinking, strategic thinking, and helping them start to predict some things. And it's just really fun to see them learning through playing games and having fun while they're doing it.
Yeah. So we're doing the interview here because you were selected to be part of the Stonemaier Charity Auction this year. And for those who don't know, Jamie from Stonemaier Games typically will pick 10 content creators a year that he feels like more people need to know about. And then those 10 content creators, they'll select a charity. And then for like a 2-3 day period, there's a Board Game Geek thread that Jamie does the auction on. There's 10 packages, one for each content creator. You put your bid on it, and then whatever the bid is, Stonemaier Games will typically match up to like $1,000, and then that goes to the charity. So far since 2012, I believe is when they started this. Yeah, or no, 2013. So since 2013, they've donated a total of $121,670 to 95 different charities. So I wanted to talk about your channel and stuff. So it's called Billy Indiana. Do you want to give the background story for that? I know it's on YouTube, but I just want to give you the chance to kind of give the
Sure.
background.
Yeah. So, as I said, right around the start of COVID, I started really diving in because even though I was teaching from home, and there wasn't a lot you could go out and do. So I was ordering games, and my wife enjoyed playing games. At the time, our son was living with us still. He's moved out and on his own now, but for that time, he was still with us, and so we played a lot of games together, and it was good for our mental health because we couldn't get out and we couldn't do things, and so it was really beneficial. Um, and about that time, I also discovered Jamie's channel online and started watching his Wednesday live chats, and then watching some of his other videos. And I started not only falling in love with board games, but also falling in love with board game content. And so I was watching Dice Tower and Rado and all the different channels, learning about games and hearing Jamie talk about his design diaries and what he loves in terms of mechanics about games he's playing. And I was constantly wanting to talk about games and play games. And we were hanging out with my daughter, and I was watching a video about a game, and I showed her, and I said, "See, this is a game I really want to get." And I was talking to her about it, and she said, "You should just make your own channel because you love talking about games." And so this will give you a chance to like tell other people about the games you really enjoy. And I said, well, I don't really know anything about social media. I mean, I have Instagram, but I that's about it. I just kind of scroll every once in a while. I don't really do anything with it. And she said, well, we could like show you some things about how to make videos. My son's like, I could help you learn how to edit videos. And I still have pretty rudimentary skills, but they kind of encouraged me to try it. And they helped me. My daughter, actually, that encouraged me to do it, came up with the idea of Billy Indiana. And it was because when I grew up in Indiana, and when we first moved to Indonesia, I was learning the language and trying to introduce myself. And I was trying to say, my name is Bill and I'm from Indiana, but somehow it came across that my name was Billy Indiana. And so for weeks, my neighbors kept calling me Billy Indiana. And so she was remembering that and said, you should just call your channel that. And she drew the art. And then my son, like I said, taught me how to do the video editing. And it became an outlet for me just to show some creativity and use that creative outlet and talk about games. And so I wasn't dragging my family as crazy. And then it led me to a lot of really fun relationships. And it's just fun for me to share about games that maybe other people haven't heard as much about. And then, like I said, I've developed relationships with people that I've had a chance to meet at conventions. And so, yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, but it spurred out of being encouraged to try it by my daughter.
Awesome. So the charity that you picked is City of Hope. Do you want to tell people what City of Hope is, and then also, why you picked that charity?
Sure. Yeah, City of Hope is a cancer research treatment a facility, I guess, but there's a lot of facilities. They have a bunch of them here in the LA area. They have some in Atlanta. They have some in the Chicago area, down in, I think, Arizona near the Phoenix area. So they have facilities all over the place, but they specialize in cancer treatment, patient care, research, and cancer has impacted my grandparents, my wife's grandparents, both of our parents. We had a scare where we thought our grandson had cancer here recently too. Fortunately, it turned out to be something much more easily treatable, but that's because it's been in our family. It's an organization that I know does a lot of good all around the U.S. And a neighbor here received great care, and they've got a City of Hope sign in their car. And a friend of mine at school had good care with a family member there. And so I just heard good things about them, and the need is something that touches close for our family. So that's why I chose it.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like a really good organization. I was looking through their website here a little bit, and it's got that they've got locations in California, Arizona, Illinois, and Georgia.
Yeah, there are a bunch of them in this area, but I know that, like you said, they're in a lot of different places around the U.S. as well.
Mhm. So, how do you think Jamie found your channel? Is there anything in particular that you're aware of, or do you think he just stumbled across it?
Yeah, as I said, I was getting really absorbed and into following YouTube different board game content. And so it was during COVID. So sometimes if I had a break or if it turned out during lunchtime or something, sometimes I could just attend live to his live streams and I would chat in the comments and then I'll sometimes on his blogs, I would make comments on his blogs and just because I was interested and curious. And there was one time I made a comment in the blog about a video I had made related to the topic he was talking about. And he just wrote me directly and he said, I didn't even know you made content. I saw that you were often in my chats and visiting and getting involved, but I didn't know that you also had content. So I checked out your channel. And he said, I'm really excited that you have a channel as well, and I'll be keeping an eye on it. And then, yeah, this year he just reached out. He has sent me a couple of review copy games over the years, and I've reviewed several of his other games that I've purchased on my own just because I enjoy them. And yeah, this year he just reached out, and I was really humbled that he wanted to invite me to be involved.
Yeah, I don't know how he's got the memory that he does.
I know.
Yeah, in those weekly streams, man, he'll just be like, "Oh, Eric from this location, and then Sally from this part of the country," and like,
Yeah, he's
I'm
got an
just like,
impressive
"Phew."
mind and memory. I just think he's a very caring person too. So, I think he invests in the people that he gets to know in a way that helps him remember who they are.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's been fantastic with me. So Scythe was one of the first games that had got me into the modern hobby and stuff. And back in December of 21, we had a miscarriage. And my buddy came in from North Carolina. I live in Ohio. He drove up from North Carolina. We, hung out for the weekend and we just played games just to, help get our minds off of everything.
Yeah.
And I'd wrote Jamie and I was like, hey, just thanks for making games and all of this other stuff. Like, this is what happened. We were able to play, I taught my buddy Scythe, Wingspan, all of this other stuff. And we were able to make a memorable weekend out of a really bad situation. And he was, he
Yeah.
wrote back and he's like, sorry to hear that. What's your buddy's address? Tell him to pick out a game from the shop, and I'll send him a copy for free for him driving up a few states and everything, just like out of nowhere. It
Yeah.
was just one of those. I just was emailing him to be like, hey, thanks for making something that I could use to take my mind off of. And he just went above and beyond.
Yeah.
And then he's donated some games from his personal collection that he was just, calling to make room. He donated them to the Lincoln County High School here in West Virginia and stuff. It was during one of the live streams. He was like, hey, I've got 6 games, 7 games. None of the local libraries want them. If you guys can put them to use, email me, let me know. I did. He was like, not a problem. It's on the way. And I was like, well, let me cover shipping. And he was like, you take care of the kids. I'll take care of the shipping. So it was just like,
Yeah.
he's just a solid dude.
Yeah. He seems very genuine and generous. So yeah, I've been blessed by numerous things that he shared throughout the few years that I've been following him.
Mm-hmm. So what's your hope for the channel? Kind of, you got it started and everything. You've been going for a few years. Kind of what's the big vision or the big goal that you're wanting to hit?
Yeah, so when I first started, I think I was much more goal driven in terms of hoping the channel would grow and hoping that I would have opportunities because of that. And what actually turned out to be my favorite part of the channel is interacting with the people in the comments, meeting people at conventions that I've chatted with, or other content creators that I've chatted with, and so it's kind of shifted in my brain to being something that I was really focused on, hoping it would grow. Which, if it grows, great, I'm happy for that. But it's more been just an outlet for me to share, and hoping that maybe someone, I love it the most when someone makes a comment on the video and says, oh man, I've been curious about this game and I didn't find anybody else talking about it, so thanks for sharing about it. Or I could not figure out how to organize this game, thanks for showing the reboxing. And so anytime I put a video out and it actually helps somebody, that's like the thing that keeps me going and making me want to create more content. It's just, I know it's a small channel and it's a small thing, but it's a creative outlet for me, but also hopefully in some small way helping other people that are also engaged in the hobby.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm working on my own game right now, and I was at Home Depot just randomly picking up something, and the cashier's like, "Hey, aren't you that guy that's making the hen game or whatever?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes!" And she was like, "Yeah, like I saw like a video about it, and then I saw you at one of the local events and stuff." And she's like, "I just remembered that," and I was like, "Yes, this
That's
is
cool.
this is what I needed to boost my day." I'm obviously not having a good day because I'm at Home Depot and I have to fix something. All right. So, speaking of games here, we have Family Feud. It's a different one than the previous 2 people. Josh from Meeple House had got 144, I believe, and then Matthew from MV Born Games is the current champion at 249.
All
So you
right,
need to be 249.
we'll give it
So
a
it is
shot.
fast money. I'm not going to throw on a real timer, but let's just act like there's like a 20-second timer or something here.
All right,
All right. So give me a word or a phrase that contains the word band.
bandwidth,
Okay. Name something that gets shredded.
did you say shredded?
Yes.
Cheese,
Okay. Name something that starts with the word pine.
pine cone,
Name a kind of bird you would be shocked to see eating from your bird feeder.
an eagle,
Okay. And then name an animal whose legs are featured on a restaurant's menu.
chicken,
Okay. So let's see. A word that contains the word band. You had said bandwidth, and there is nothing for that. So
Should
we
have
had
said
rubber
Band-Aid.
band. Yeah. Well, we had rubber band, band aid, wedding band, band aid,
Mm,
and bandwagon. Let's see. Name something that gets shredded. You had said cheese, correct?
yeah.
So that was number two, and that's 19 points. Number one was documents or paper.
Oh,
Name something that starts with the word pine. You had said pine cone. That was number one at 40 points. Name a kind of bird you'd be shocked to see eating from your bird feeder. You had said eagle. That was number one. That
oh,
was
really?
23 points. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, whenever I was going through it, I was like, all right, what would I be like penguin or something? And nope, not even on there. It's eagle, an ostrich or emu, a parrot or macaw, flamingo, or a vulture. Now, I didn't think of any of those. And then here's another one I think is a little, I don't know who they surveyed. So name an animal whose legs are featured on a restaurant's menu. You had said chicken. That's number two at 35. So number one was frog
Oh, wow.
at 43. And then crab was number three at 14.
Wow.
So I don't know
Yeah,
what
I would
part
have
of the
thought crab or
country.
chicken would have been first, but
Yeah. Yeah. They must be like in Louisiana doing these surveys or something. I don't think
I
I've ever
did.
seen frog legs on a menu at a restaurant. Like I know it's a thing, but
Yeah,
I've
I've
never
had
been to
frog
a
legs when
dinner.
we lived back in Indiana.
Like I'm not going to Applebee's for frog legs. So, so you are at let's see, 117. So
Oh,
Matt from Envyborn Games is still the reigning
reigning champ.
champion.
Congratulations,
Yes,
Matt.
he's made it longer than Josh. Josh had it for Josh had it for one interview. All right. So, what social media do you want to plug here? What are you most active on? Where can people find you at?
I do have an account on Twitter, but I don't do much there. I usually post things on Instagram and YouTube as my two primary outlets. I've been a lot less regular recently since basketball season started. I actually just came from practice a few minutes before we started today. So that keeps me pretty busy, but I'm still trying to put out a few videos every month. I'm still trying to post whenever I have a chance to play games, which has been also a lot more limited. I've played more on BGA the last couple months than anything else just because of time. So between practices and games, we're just in fall league, but we still have practice pretty much every day except for Sunday or games. And so, yeah, it eats a lot of time. But yeah, so I would say YouTube and Instagram is where you'd see most of my content.
Okay. And it looks like a lot of the usernames are Billy Indiana 2020.
Yeah, that's when I started the channel, and I think on YouTube it's just Billy Indiana, and I
Yep.
think on Facebook it's just Billy Indiana, or maybe it's 2020 there. I know my email is 2020 because that was I had to put a number on it to make it. Someone else already had Billy Indiana, surprisingly enough, so I had to add the 2020 on a couple of things. But
Gotcha. So yeah, you said you played on BGA a lot. I have not got the chance to play a whole lot for the last month, just with the newborn.
yeah,
Um, but usually I would try to play on BGA. What's some of your favorite games on BGA, or what's some games that you would recommend to people to try out on BGA?
yeah, it kind of depends on your goal. So I have a group that we're just constantly playing. There's four of us, and we're always having two or three games going asynchronous. And so I think there are certain games that are good for that kind of a setting. Right now, we just finished playing Heat, which I thought was pretty fun asynchronous. Right now, we're playing Forest Shuffle, which I think a lot of people have really been enjoying. And then also My City Roll and Write. We've been playing that one asynchronous, which is fun. We I play a lot of solo games that I've liked. Acropolis, I've liked. Um, what is it called? The London and the Tokyo. Next Station Tokyo, Next Station London have been a lot of fun. But I've noticed they're just constantly adding more and more. I saw Hadrian's Wall just recently popped on there as another solo option for me to check out. So yeah, I'm always looking for new things just so I can every once in a while, oh, I've got 20 minutes. I'm going to get on and just play something real quick solo, and then I have my asynchronous games going with my group. So those are some of the ones we've been playing recently that I've enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't do the non real time games. I couldn't do a turn at a time I'd get my strategy mixed up for whatever games. A lot of the ones I like to play on BGA are typically like the deck builders because you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
shuffle. You actually don't have to shuffle the cards or anything.
Yeah,
So I've been playing a ton of Lost Cities. I've really enjoyed it. And then
that's
Spots.
fun.
Spots is another one that's really fun. Have you had the chance to try it out yet?
I haven't tried Spots yet. It looks cute though.
It's fun. So John Perry is the one who designed it. He's the same one that designed Air, Land, and Sea.
Okay.
Um, and it's super fun. So you start out with two dogs, and they've got different number of spots on them, and their spots are actually the die. And you're trying to perform different tricks. So there's 6 tricks total. 2 will always be the same, and then the other 4 you can swap in and out as you want
Hmm.
between games. So there's like 24 different tricks or something. So there's a ton of replayability. But on your turn, you will either pick to score or you will pick to do a trick.
Okay.
Once you do a trick, it could be, roll 3 dice and then place them or whatever. Or it could be, roll a die and take that many treats, and treats let you re-roll.
Okay.
Um, but once you do a trick, you flip it over, and then once 5 of the 6 tricks are flipped over, then they all get flipped back. So like you could be doing something to prevent the next person from doing that trick, or you could be doing
Yeah, yeah.
something that benefits you. And it's just the first person to get all 6 dogs full. But it's a push
Cool.
your luck element because if you can't place the die on a dog, then you have to bury it in your yard. And if your yard ever equals more than 7, then you bust and everything gets wiped from your yard and from your unscored dogs.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
there's a very push your luck element to it. But with the tricks, there's a lot of like mitigation that you can do. I don't like dice chuckers where I can't affect the outcome somehow, like where it's purely just up to the die. I want to be able to have some sort of strategy to mitigate good rolls, bad rolls, all of that. So
Yeah.
it's a good push your luck, just chucking dice, having fun with it.
Yeah, sounds like fun. I'll have to try that one out. The Sea Salt and Paper game too, I've heard a lot of people have enjoyed on BGA, and I haven't tried that one yet either.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to try that one. Josh over at Meeple House, he had just talked about it, and he's got a new job at an LGS, and he said that it's hit the table like 12 times
Hmm.
in a few days that he's been there. So I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't realize I haven't logged into BGA in a while. That's what I'm looking
Yeah.
at right now, just to kind of see what new games they've got going on. Um, it looks like they've got Sky Team on here now. I've heard a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff about that. That was one that Josh had told me about whenever he went to Gen Con this year. I wasn't able to go to Gen Con just because where the wife was pregnant and we were in the 3rd trimester. It was like, yeah, I'm not going out of town.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that Planet Unknown's coming soon too, and that's a game I really enjoy. So I think that'd be a fun one to
Hmm.
do on BGA.
Yeah, and I've talked to a BGA developer actually about the game that I'm working on, and it
Hmm.
wasn't as expensive as what I expected it to be to get it on
Okay.
there. It was like $1,200.
Hmm.
Um, and that was for my particular game. Now, if it's something a lot more complicated, because they basically, whenever I'd email them, they're like, it really depends on your game. It could be
Yeah.
$1,000, it could be $10,000. It
Hmm.
just depends on the level of coding that needs to go into it and all of the rule settings and stuff like that. So once I get the artwork finalized with my stuff a little bit more, I'm going to shoot it over to them, and they're going to do a BGA implementation for me. So
Nice.
looking forward to that.
What stage of development is the game in?
So I've had like 116, 17 different playtesters so far. I've
Hmm.
already got my manufacturing quote. It's with the artist right now. She's doing all of the artwork and graphic design for me. Once she wraps that up, I'm going to do the BGA implementation, and I'm shooting for quarter 2 Kickstarter of
Okay.
2024. But I don't have like I haven't set a hard line in the sand of like I want
Hmm.
to launch by this date. I want to make sure I've got everything ready, everything's good before I
Yeah.
launch. So I'm in no rush to launch. I've got no magic date that I have to launch this by. So
Yeah. I'll
I would
definitely
like
keep
to
my
do
eye
it.
out for it.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be appreciated. I'd like to do it the week of Geekway. I think that would be fun to
Hmm.
do. So launch it that Tuesday before Geekway, and then kind of hold an event or a couple events during Geekway just to kind of get some eyes on it and stuff. So that would be fun, but if I don't make it, then I don't make that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give some arbitrary number. It just stress me out even more.
Yeah. Well, I hope it
All
goes
right.
well, and I look forward to learning more about it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll shoot you some videos and stuff on it once I get them made or whatever, and then
Terrific.
see what all you'd like to do.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Well, before we jump off here, is there anything you want to let people know?
Um, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I think we've pretty much covered it. But yeah, thanks for inviting me again, and thanks to Jamie for letting me be a part of that charity auction. And I hope that some good funds come in for City of Hope. It's a great cause. But yeah, just excited and humbled to be a part of it. And again, thank you for your time and inviting me to this interview.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bill.
My pleasure.